Okay, so continuing on, I left off with taking off the inner primary case, and I tried wiggling it, I tried tapping on the outside of it with my rubber mallet, couldn't get it loose, and I was looking and I couldn't see. I thought I'd taken all the fasteners off. I just couldn't figure this out. I was like, why is this thing not coming? So I jumped on the Bullet Tech group and just put the question out there, and luckily one of the resident gurus, Tim Busby from New Zealand, chimed in and just told me that most likely it's the stiction that's caused by the gasket behind where it attaches to the engine, and they just kind of stick to each other, the case and the gasket and the engine, and you just need to knock it loose. So what I did was I took my ball peen hammer and I just went on the other side of the bike and just put the handle through and just kind of got it right in behind here, just flat on like that. Just gave it one or two whacks with my rubber mallet, and she popped right out. And that's exactly what it was. It was just stuck in here. Now, unfortunately, when I was looking at this and never having taken it apart and not really be able to tell, because from the drawings they really show it, this part from the other side and the pieces going into it. So they don't really have a clear view. At least I didn't find one that had a clear view of this engine bearing here. So I thought, mistakenly, that perhaps the seal here was holding it in or needed to be removed in order to get the case off. Apparently that's not at all the case, so I ended up taking off the rubber seal, the oil seal for the engine itself, for this outer bearing. And of course, I wrecked the seal doing that. It ended up getting damaged, and now this seal is no good. It's not a huge deal, it's not a big setback, because one of the seals that I ordered that came in the set was this seal here for the engine. So I'll take the primary case off. I'll make sure I try my best not to get any dirt at all into the engine, into that bearing, and then I'll reinstall this new seal. But bad move on my part. This didn't need to be removed. Unfortunately, I didn't see Tim's warning until I'd already taken this seal out. So c'est la vie, it's just the way it goes. So that's going to go to the trash. So now, with some packing tape over this to protect this seal here, even though I'm going to replace this particular one, I still want to protect it because it's going to be a spare for me. So I'll take it all off. But now it just wiggles, should just wiggle right out, and it does. And there we go. And now you can see how this works. Yeah, and there's the gasket. There's what's left of the gasket material. So I'll clean all this up. One of the things I wanted to check, because I was getting a little bit of leakage every once in a while, and I can see that there is some transmission fluid, which is what I use inside the primary case. There's some ATF here on this. So I think a little bit was going out and going past the gasket here. As a matter of fact, I can see it's there. Because every once in a while I'd get a little drip, not a big one, but a little drip of transmission fluid, and it's pretty easy to spot because it's pink. So thinking to myself, okay, how's that getting out of there? It had to be coming out from the back. And then even this one here, this seal here, you can see there's a little bit of oil around that one. Now that looks more like the grease from the chain, and that might be it might be the grease from inside the gearbox coming along the shaft. But either way, I'll clean this guy up. It's quite a mess, and see what I can do with it. Yeah, for sure. As I look closer at this is grease. So the reason I'm doing this is to keep being able to use liquid, to be able to use gear oil instead of grease inside the gearbox. It's just a way better way to lubricate a gearbox. But this thing always leaked out this side, and there's all kinds of oil here, so I'm going to have to clean all this up on this side of the engine. Or this side of the gearbox, this side of the motorcycle. Get this all cleaned up before I take this off, and get rid of that seal there in the gearbox. But yeah, grease here on this, transmission fluid leaking past this. So when I go to put this back on, I'll put on a new gasket, because of course the old one's all torn up now. I'll put on a new gasket, but I'll also put a little bit of some high temp RTV there, just a small bead around the holes to help seal that up. Let that set, and hopefully that'll be the end of the little drip of transmission fluid I was getting out of the primary case. All right, so now first thing I want to do before I go any further is get that seal replaced, because I don't want to risk having any dirt go into that bearing. All right, now let me just get a bit of light here. So I'll get you a little bit closer so you can see. There, it's a little easier, it's not quite so harsh. So you can see that the bearing goes, or sorry, the seal goes inside here, and there's the ball bearing for the end of the crankshaft here, power takeoff. And then over here, lots and lots, I'll lift up the light a little bit, lots and lots of grease along here. Who knows what's chain lube, who knows what's grease coming out of the gearbox. Maybe when I get that socket off, I'll get a better view of the seal. Well, I will. I'll be able to see the seal for the gearbox, and then we'll really be able to tell. But first, I want to replace that seal there. So I'm going to turn you off, and I'll get you going again in a bit.